Noise music is an acquired taste, to say the least. I mean, you have to put yourself through so much visceral sound that makes you feel uncomfortable and uneasy. But once you become acclimated to this uncomfortableness, the soundscapes in this genre are unbelievable. And I think a particular favorite band of mine can convey this feeling perfectly.
Okay, watch them birds fly south for the winter. Re-up, so for cushion money for the dinner. Crank that heat up, cause the winter's getting colder. The globe is getting warmer, the block is getting hotter. Young and sipping molly water, holla, hallelujah.
Clipping is an American experimental hip-hop group consisting of rapper Daveed Diggs and producers William Houston and Jonathan Snipes. So far in their 10-year-long career, they've made 5 albums and 1 mixtape. The mixtape being their introductory work that they self-produced. From this mixtape, they got major success in 2014 with their first big album titled Clipping. And from there on out, they've made incredible works compiling the ideas and themes relating to hip-hop with the sort of abrasive nature of sound music. Adding sound music to hip-hop might seem like a counterintuitive combination.
I was like, this is my new project, like this is what I'm doing, check this out. Harsh noise, gangster rap. Here it is, here we go. And every single person who wrote me back was like, I don't know about this one.
But the band themselves sees this combination as a perfect fit for the hip-hop tradition. And because of this, the band doesn't see themselves as an industrial rap group or a noise rap group, but rather they just see themselves as a rap group. This doesn't absolve the group from being pretentious in any way, but it definitely makes their approach to music feel a lot more genuine and impactful because of this. They aren't trying to fit in any sort of genre or pretension. They're just making art that they're proud of, inspiring feelings of horror, emotion, or even just vibes. Their songs are full of themes and intricate ideas, but the feelings they convey with the sound and some of the lyrics are just so impactful that you can't deny the effect of them. Their storytelling is honestly on another level. The soundscapes created by Houston and Snipes are impenetrable, with the eclectic instrumentals involving kick drums, synth, and even electronic bursts of just sheer sound. Houston and Snipes are able to create sound that feels reminiscent of horror films of the past, but also noise music of the present. And while Houston and Snipes establish an absorbing atmosphere for the story, Daveed Diggs matches this caliber of sound design as the central storyteller. Daveed's writing blends his casual wit and his humor with the horrific subject matter a particular track is addressing. The humor is hilarious, and the horror is haunting in equal measure. Like in the track Inside Out, Daveed describes a crime scene in excruciating detail to show the morbidly hilarious mundanity of crime in a modern day. Each track is a balancing act in tone, and no serious subject matter gets sidelined. The pacing of Daveed's rapping either fits perfectly into the soundscape or juxtaposes against it. Whether the track is telling a linear story or it's going for a more abstract approach, the writing and production blend together in a way that makes any context immediately absorbing. As I've said, Clipping has built an entire catalog of amazing horror-themed albums and tracks throughout their run. Even though their 2014 album Clipping is their first album, it's also one of their best, telling thematically similar stories about people trying to escape trauma and death, but who eventually come to learn that fate indiscriminately comes for everyone. My favorite song from the album, Ends, lays out this theme definitively, describing how no matter what life you've led or how you've been forced into a dangerous life, you'll still end up 6 feet under just like everyone else. The verses,
Everyone's at a loss for words. They wonder why the raps are full of floss and boss and murderers. Cause killing shit is less painful than feeling shit, and the dead can't be defenders. Why live old without a pension?
still give me goosebumps every single time I listen to this song. Their next album, Splendor and Misery, is currently their only concept album, focusing on a man imprisoned on a space prison. This project is, in my opinion, one of the best executions of pure cosmic horror. The vastness of space is conveyed in every track, as if you could just close your eyes and see the movie Clipping scored for. It's such a visceral project, but I still don't think it's my favorite. That title goes to the second Halloween album they released, an album that is the ultimate culmination of everything the band has done.
Don't know what you thought this was, but you're gonna have to die about it.
Visions of Bodies Being Burned is the sequel album to There Exists an Addiction to Blood, released a year before. While I did not talk about Addiction to Blood, it's an album I have trouble separating from Visions. Because they're companion albums, the themes and atmospheres are generally the same. I mean, they both begin and end in the same fashion, beginning with a goosebump-inducing intro and ending with dawn or the sunrise. Even if I do prefer Bodies Being Burned, Addiction to Blood includes some absolute bangers. Nothing is Safe is a tense reimagining of John Carpenter's original film Assault on Precinct 13. However, Clipping flips the story on its head. Instead of a gang raiding a police station, the police are ruthlessly raiding a trap house. Another track I find myself coming back to over and over is Run for Your Life, which is an ambient paranoia attack with absolutely incredible sound design, even by Clipping standards. The beat isn't just layered underneath David's rapping, it comes in as if a passing car is playing it. This is one track from Clipping that gives me literal anxiety every time without fail. Even though they're very similar albums, Visions of Bodies Being Burned feels like Clipping's most complete and consistent project yet. From the Candyman horror story of Say the Name, all the way to the haunting and ghostly in Lacing, Visions impresses with every track and epitomizes every trick the band has used over their run. It still feels reminiscent of John Carpenter in tracks like 96 Neve Campbell, but the album is far more haunting and visceral than Addiction to Blood. Something underneath especially highlights this viscera, describing an apocalyptic uprise of the undead who will ravish everything everyone holds dear. The overwhelming pace of David's rapping isn't just impressive in this track, it conveys the sheer power of whatever is raging underneath, almost like an earthquake. But then there are tracks like Pain Every Day, which is cleverly preceded by an interlude of invocation, since Pain Every Day is about the immortal suffering of a ghost. While a ghost story is inherent to horror, the emotional depth David gives to this ghost is scary in the most human way. David comparing death marks to birthmarks is such a poignant image that works so well with the ideas at play. The suffering of the song is so intensely conveyed, making stark contrast between this and the slasher nature of a track like 96 Neve Campbell. Even David's playfulness comes into play in tracks like Check the Lock and in Lacing. This album is a kaleidoscope of tone and genre, and I think that's what Clipping has always strived for. They're an experimental band pushing the limits of hip-hop and noise music, while understanding the sensibilities of said genres. Their commentary on police brutality and identity also couldn't be more relevant for Vision's 2020 release. So when they release an album so dynamic, it feels instinctual to consider their most experimental album their best work to date. While I am biased because Clipping is one of my favorite bands of all time, I really do believe that Houston, Snipes, and Diggs are some of the most innovative minds in music today. Not only are their songs meaningful and relevant, they're also just scary. It's horror music done right.
Fucker, prepare for the storm. Hope you got a blanket, everybody keeping you warm. The spoken word is weak. Scream, motherfucker, dreams are cheap. You ain't even gotta sleep. Don't sleep, it's Clipping, bitch.